I put my left shoe on first simply because it's a habit. You may put your right one on first. Now that's out of the way. Other kinds of thoughts, impractical thoughts, daydream thoughts, imaginary thoughts, harmful thoughts, also don't belong to me. They appear to belong to me only because other thoughts say so. You had better be very defensive when you meet that person at that appointed hour, an hour from now. This is one thought telling another thought how to behave, and based on the assumption, the thought assumption, that there's someone there who should be defensive in order not to be in danger. These are really not my thoughts at all, not my real nature self-thoughts, but merely ideas, concepts that come to me when I'm very young and develop around the artificial self, so that then the thoughts which form the invented self attract, pray for, cry for, feel the necessity for, magnetically attracting other thoughts that will seem to confirm it. So here we have the thought self, the Vernon self, the Rod self, the Sarah self, forming a nucleus, all of which agree to say, I must be safe today by being hostile, defensive, by conquering the world, by having you approve of me, and so on. This nucleus of self-thoughts has a certain hard, neurotic demand in them, and this demand is a negative prayer, which then attracts thoughts outside itself. Yours, for example, you and I may decide to be, quote mark, friends, and so our thoughts attract each other in order to be safe. Now, remember we discussed this last night, organization? Now there's two people who are safe. Watch what I'm doing, Sally. There are two people who are safe, and then they get a little sense of false power out of the organization of two people, and they begin to feel affirmed, and they say, this is right, this is correct. At last, we've found the right way to promote and protect ourselves. Are you following me? So then it goes on to 2 people, 3 people, 5 people, 1,000, 1 million people, 200 million people in a nation who band together to get a false feeling of life. Now, not in friendship, they've already got that. We're 200 million people bound by self-thoughts, but these self-thoughts must now have an opposite, as thoughts always do, because it's their nature to go to opposites. So 200 million people who have a false security in belonging to this country can't have any real security. They can't affirm themselves, although they try by banding together. So the next trick that false self-thoughts play will go to the opposite. We've got it. Now we've got it. We declare war on the other country of 200 million people, and we feel affirmed. Do you know when wars end? Do you know what causes wars to end? Certainly not peace pacts or people running out of ammunition. What causes wars to end is the natural ending of one opposite getting exhausted and coming to an end of itself, which means that the peace which follows war is just as phony as the war itself. Because after a time, peaceful people get tired of seeing themselves as peaceful and then want to go to the opposite of that, and they never, of course, ever call it directly. They don't say we're vicious people who want to attack the enemy nation. It's there, but they have to say this is a just war. This is a war for the liberation of us or of foreign peoples.
Vernon, you said several times recently that the topic, the cancellation of time, there'll never be a more important topic to discuss. But can you discuss
Yeah, all right. We'll go into it a little bit. See, right now, in your present state, all of you here, there's only one thing you can do, and that is to think. And you don't do that very well, do you?
No.
You can't think properly in everyday matters. You buy a set of tires or something, it drives you crazy trying to make a decision as to what tires to buy. Is that right? You buying tires, Duff?
No, but every other little decision drives
Right.
me crazy.
Right. You're afraid you're going to make a wrong purchase and regret it 5 minutes later. So you don't even think rightly. But that's not the topic under the discussion. The topic we're talking about is time. As long as you're thinking, this is important now, as long as you're thinking about time, you are creating it. It is necessary to know that it's now 5 minutes to 7 on this Friday evening. It's necessary to know that, so we can be here at the time assigned to have this meeting. You've heard many times it's necessary to have time, as long as we're living in the physical bodies, to be efficient, to know where to be at the right time, to cook the rice 20 minutes, and so on. So the mind thoughts create time. And this time is also the area that my so-called self lives in, my ego self lives in. So I have a thought self, a time self, which knows nothing but time because it knows nothing to do but to think. And you won't understand what I'm talking about until you know something other than thinking. So what's this something else that you're going to have to rise to, which is not thinking? You will know that when you want to think about time in relationship to being here in time for the meeting, or cook the rice 20 minutes, and you want to use thought for that, but for nothing else. If you refuse to live in a time self, a time nature, if you refuse that, you would also refuse, put out of your life everything that has ever happened to you from 1 second ago to however old you are. The cancellation of time means, while this is very complex, follow, while you can think in memory, the memory department of the mind, about time, you can think of that event, that foolish involvement you got involved with 10 years ago or 5 minutes ago. While you can think about it, if you have escaped the world of time, when you do think about it, there will be no vibration of you, because you have seen that the only thing that exists of you is the identified time self. This is what is known as freedom from the past, from the future, and living only right now, which is not an intellectual process. It can't be. Why are you ashamed of yourself? Why do you feel guilty? Why do you feel inadequate toward the future? That is, why do you fear the future? Is not fearing the future both a thought process, a mental process, and an emotional one? Is it not? They're connected together. So when you think about the future, you always must absolutely think about it in connection with the person who has been you since birth. It is Sarah of 20 years ago, Chuck of 30 years ago, who is thinking about the future. Now, why is this going on at all? Because it's the only way in which Sarah and Chuck and the rest of us can falsely keep ourselves under the illusion that we perpetuate and recreate ourselves from moment to moment. And that is an illusion. But if I stop worrying about what's going to become of me when I get 40, 60, 80, I should live that long. If I was to stop worrying about what's going to become of me when I'm 80, that would be the end of me now. I would disappear now, wouldn't I? If I stopped worrying about... If I don't have anyone to worry about, is there anyone there to worry about? Look at the simple logic of it. So, my dark psychic system falsely depends upon time thinking to perpetuate and continue the hoax that I am I. I am not I at all. I am something that is not I. I have to see, understand everything that we've talked about, and when it is everything you've heard just so far is quite clear to you, of itself, that knowledge, that awareness, that insight will cause a new experience to happen inside you. And that new experience is not something that you do. Rather, it is something that happens in the absence of you. When you see clearly, without a doubt, that there is no Chuck or Sarah there who needs to continue, it's over with. And you don't need to continue because the whole thing's an illusion that you were there to continue. This comes after, only after, many, many jolts which you take rightly instead of with resistance. Because your jolts, that is unhappy experiences, people disappoint you, you disappoint yourself, things don't go right. These jolting experiences are resisted because even the very pain you get from them seems to confirm that you were you. This is why we put so much emphasis in this class, and I'll go into it in a minute, a little more detail. This is why we put so much emphasis in this class on using a crisis rightly. This very day, unfortunately, all of us have been so wasteful of the crisis, one after another, the crises that came one after another today, because instead of using it, for example, in relation to this time that we're discussing, instead of using it to see that it was the time self, the mental identity that was jolted, and trying to understand it and be free of it. Instead of taking the jolt as a lesson, we took it as a resentment, as a resistance, because we are saying nothing is more holier than my egotism, than my conceit, than the way I want things to unfold. And you, wife, or you, husband, or you, world, or you, event, you're very cruel and you're vicious and thoughtless to hurt me the way you did. You have no business to distress me the way you did. Why don't you behave the way I want you to? Who said that? The I said it. The thought self said it. The conditioned self, the illusory self, the conceited self, the vain self always says, you mustn't talk to me that way. What you must do is agree with everything I say, give me what I want, and if you don't do that, then you are bad. And you're bad for not pleasing a good person like me. And when we say that, we feel, listen, when we say that, we feel the lie of it. Could we begin to look inside ourselves the next time we get jolted by something, and look inside and see the time self operating. The time self that says, Chuck is this or that. Therefore, he should be treated like this or that in order to make him feel safe and secure. But I've been doing this all my life. You have been rejecting and resisting the jolts, the surprises, the unexpected all your life. In an attempt to feel safe and secure, and it never works out that way. It works just the opposite, doesn't it? When my time self meets an unexpected event, for example, it clashes with it, and instead of understanding what happened, we so love the jolt that we try to increase it. You deny me what I want, I love the false feeling of life, and so I get mad. You denied me what I want. I didn't get it. I'm jolted. I'm shocked by that. I am so in love with my time self that resisted that I want to keep it going. I'm really happy over what's happened to me because I've got a very distracting feeling. I sense that I'm the aggressor now, and so I blow up at you. Now I feel victorious. And now I know what inwardly I sense what I'm doing against myself, but only with the help of this class and the truth coming first, of course, only with the guidance of the truth that you are hearing in this class, then we begin to behave intelligently toward a crisis in order to see that it's simply the time self operating, and it will always operate against your real interests and always fight for its own survival, which means that it is fighting against your eternity in favor of its time and temporary self. So the Mr. Hyde inside of us is working against us. And this is what we've got to see. And I'll go a little more into that. Imagine a man's been drafted into the Army, and he goes through his elementary training, 10 weeks elementary Army training. First they put a 5-pound pack on his back, and he marches around with that for a couple of weeks. Then they increase it to 20 pounds and heavier, and they give him a rifle, and first he just carries it around, then he learns how to use it. And after his preliminary training, he's sent off to war. So we're taking one particular soldier and illustrating an experience which will connect with everything that Sarah asked about. So the soldier goes off to war, and you know, a battlefield is a pretty scary place if you've ever been on one, or if you've even seen films about one. There's a soldier up in the front line looking out into the jungle there where the enemy soldiers are, not being able to see them, not knowing where they are, but all the time the mortars and the machine guns are chattering over his head, and the grenades come down from nowhere out of the big palm trees. And you never knows when he's going to get it. And he's told to be brave out there and get the enemy. Well, it's pretty hard to be brave when your instinctive center says don't get killed. But there are certain things that impel the soldier to go on. So this particular soldier goes out into the battlefield having endless kinds of experiences. And he's there for a long time, 2 years, let's say, risking his life and being terrified by it all. And after a while, he begins to notice something that is happening around him. At first it was very vague. Then it became clear to him. He noticed another soldier who didn't seem to be afraid at all. He was right out there in the midst of the chattering machine guns and the grenades and the cannon and so on. And first the awareness of the soldier is vague because he was busy with his own life, trying to save it, namely. But he was attracted to looking physically at this soldier and noticed, he knew that he wasn't afraid. He just knew that. And there he was right in the middle of the same battles that he was. So we watched him for a while and became quite curious as to what was going on. Everybody's supposed to be afraid out on the battlefield, and yet this man wasn't. He could just tell by the way he handled himself, by the expression on his face. So casually and not wanting to be too conspicuous about it, he walked over to, during the lull in the battle, over to one of the palm trees where this other soldier was resting for a bit. So he casually walked over and, you know, as we do when we're shy about something, began a casual conversation with him. Hello, they exchanged where they were. I'm from Iowa. Well, I'm from Texas, and so on. They get acquainted a little bit. And finally, the scared soldier got up enough courage to probe a little bit, find out what was going on. So he said, you know, I've been watching you. If you don't mind me asking you a few questions, I've been watching you, and I noticed that you're in command of yourself all the time, that machine guns are chattering and the bombs are going off, and you don't seem to be scared like the rest of us. Could you comment? Tell me about that, please. And the other soldier said, yes, I can tell you about it since you've asked. I wouldn't have volunteered unless you'd asked me first. But in fact, I'm not afraid. And the other soldier was baffled and yet very much intrigued by it, very curious. Well, could you tell me why? Aren't you afraid of being shot like the rest of us are? He said, no, I'm not afraid. And the other soldier, who was safe and secure, didn't seem to volunteer much information, and he seemed to force the scared soldier to answer his questions. So he kept asking, and the other soldier answered a little bit. Finally, as the questions came more often, the other soldier decided that, said, since you've kept asking, I'll tell you the whole story. I didn't want to tell it to you unless you really pressed me for it. There's a reason for that, by the way, which you won't understand. The fact is, I'm not afraid at all. I'm perfectly immune. There's no way that machine gun bullet can get me. There's no way that grenade can go off. It'll just pass right through me. No way I can get hurt. So obviously you can see why I'm not scared like everyone else is out here. And the scared soldier, of course, did a double take. He could hardly believe what he heard. He was baffled and yet intrigued. And he wondered what was going on because he knew from the start that this man was telling the truth. And yet how could it be so? He knew he wasn't scared. That's what attracted him to him in the first place. So he asked him more questions. Well, I don't understand. You say you're immune, you're perfectly safe and secure out here on this raging battlefield, and yet the rest of us are terrified. please don't force me to ask you so many questions. Please tell me. I can't tell you of how interested in this I am. So the soldier said, well, it's not something I can tell you in 5 minutes or a half hour, but I will tell you this. Over the years, you're the 10th soldier who has asked me over the last couple of years about this. They came up to me just as you did, a little bit bashful, a little bit shy, and probed into the situation. And they asked me why I wasn't scared, and I told them what I told you. So you're the 10th man who asked me this, and I can therefore also tell you something else. That every once in a while, twice a week perhaps, on occasions when we can get away to do it, we meet. We have a meeting. We just get off underneath one of the shady spots away from the battle a little bit, and I teach them what I have hinted to you, that I'm not scared. I'm immune to the terrors of the battlefield, and anyone else, including yourself, who wants to achieve this safety, this security, this immunity, can do the same. If you're interested in coming, I'll tell you when we have our next little get-together, and we'll talk things over. So the scared soldier was interested enough. So after 2 or 3 days, and he was just dying to be invited because he wanted to know more about this. So the scared soldier was finally invited, and there he went over, and to his surprise, he saw 2 or 3 of his friends there who had attended these secret meetings, and a few strangers too, but other soldiers who were also out on the same battlefield who had noticed the immune soldier and wanted to know his secret. So they had a meeting, and the new scared soldier heard some astonishing things. He could hardly believe them. He was overwhelmed by them. But he sat there transfixed with the information. So the immune soldier talked to him a little bit, very informal, just sitting around there on the ground, all good friends talking things over. And the immune soldier told them many things, and one of them he said was this: one thing that will help you to become immune as me is to realize, first of all, you've got to get right out there and be in the thick of the battle. You get right out there where the machine guns are going off loud enough to blast your ears, and the bombs are bursting all around you. The enemy soldiers are charging at you with their bayonets. There's one thing that will prevent you from achieving this immunity that I'm telling you about, and that is to avoid the battle. You can't be a coward out here and learn the secret that I'm telling you about. You've got to be right out in the middle of the thick of it. You can't stay back mentally and let someone else do it. You have to do it for yourself. Get out there and expose yourself to every possible danger you can. That's one thing. And even that will begin to tell you the basic secret that I'm trying to get over to you, which is this. Through listening to me, time after time, coming back here when we can, my very words to you, to every one of you here, will begin to activate a certain part of your nature that is presently undeveloped, but it's a certain right part of you that when you begin to develop, it will turn the rest of your body, your whole system, into an immune structure. See, the very listening, being receptive, wanting to know, wanting to understand, working to understand, all this right effort on your part will begin to develop this sleeping part of you to the point where you will begin to be immune, and you can find it out for yourself. This is something that you can test for yourself, and you must test for yourself. Don't take my word for it. As you begin to go out into the thick of the battle and remember all these things I'm telling you about, namely that you must be in the battle, that you mustn't be afraid of anything, or if you're afraid, go ahead and do it anyway, you will find that when the bullet comes your way, it won't penetrate you quite as much as it might have otherwise. You'll find that the bomb won't be so dangerous to you because your immunity is beginning to develop. And you'll find from yourself, you wouldn't have believed it unless you'd experienced it for yourself, that you're right out here in the thick of the battlefield, which I told you must do, And yet the time will come when you will be completely untouched by it. There'll be no harm to you at all. Now, don't take my word for it. Don't you go into imagination and then go out there and say, I've got this immunity you talked about. You're going to get shot down, and you're going to come back here crying. And if that happens to you, well, fine. Be humble enough to admit that you were living in imagination, that you were very stupid, that you thought you had it made, and you didn't have it made at all. So the soldier went out, and he began to listen, put into practice some of the things he was told. And he was surprised at them, of course, but he was fascinated by it, so that he came back time after time after time. And one time, he heard something that he couldn't believe it, and yet he knew it was right. And one thing that the immune soldier told him was this: gentlemen, you 10 gentlemen sitting around under the coconut palm trees on the ground in front of me, with our K rations in front of us, all you soldiers out in front of me, listen to this and don't forget it. Whatever you do, don't forget it, or you'll lose time in attaining the safety and security and immunity from the shot and shell of the battlefield. Now I want you to look over there where the enemy is. Over there, you know that machine gun nest over there, and you know they've got their rifles and their cannons back there. And you can see the different uniforms of the enemy over there as they run behind one palm tree to another and camouflage themselves. Now I want you to look over there. This is what you call the enemy, right? This is what you call the enemy. The men in the different kinds of uniforms. And indeed, they are, in fact, the enemy. Hang on to your helmets, gentlemen. Well, I'm going to tell you now. I want you to look back and see all your fellow soldiers there, over there, camped around the fire over there and getting their food from the mess sergeant over there. They had the same uniforms on that you have. Now, look at your uniform. Now look at their uniform. They look like you, don't they? They're from Texas and Iowa and Oregon too. They're just as much an enemy of you as those soldiers over there are. And a man's foes shall be they of his own household. That means two things. It means that the enemy shall be all your friends, your relatives, your husband, anyone who despises decency, who hates truth. You think your enemies are people who do bad things to you. Your enemies are people who do good things to you. Good things to you that you don't see as bad yet. That's one thing. It means the exterior enemies out there that you can see in the opposite uniform. But it also means that the enemies will be your own thoughts, your own emotions, your own conditioning, your own desires, your own demands that agree with what your friends say is right for you. Your enemies are inside. You see, gentlemen, this is a very strange sort of battlefield. Up to this point of your fighting out there, you were thinking in opposites. You were thinking there or there, over there, 200 yards away in the thick jungle, with the lights flashing up from the cannons and sending shot over here. You're conditioned to thinking that that's your enemies and that's your friends. I am telling you that that's your enemies and that's your enemies. I know this is going to be a shock to you, but you had better see it. Otherwise, you're not going to be killed by your friends. You're going to be killed by your enemies. You're going to be killed by your friends, and you don't know it. This is the way it is. This is the way the battlefield actually is, and you're going to have to see this. I'll end the illustration there because I think you've followed what we're trying to get at, which is this world is a battlefield, and because we're living in time thinking which divides itself into past, into future, into friend, into enemy, into today I don't have it, but tomorrow I'll have it, etc. Because we're living in time thinking, we take the enemy to be something that goes against our interests, but we don't see that our interests themselves, false interests, is the enemy. whatever your state may be here tonight, whatever it's been during the last week, the last 5 years, will be to the extent which you do not understand that when you're out there on the battlefield, there's only one thing you can do to make yourself immune. Absorb these truths, take them right out with you, right out into that office, right into that marriage, right into the home of your parents whom you're going to visit maybe next week or next month. When your children come to visit you, take everything you've learned right into that. And instead of saying that, please try to understand it, don't do the wrong dumb thing about this, but instead of saying the thing that is going to please those people, why don't you refrain from pleasing them so that you can unmask your friends really as being enemies? And if you handle it right, if you're really smart enough, you can do that. You stop giving money to those people and see if they're still your friends. You stop flattering people and see if you're still your friends. You stop going along with their political beliefs, their religious beliefs. You start really living cosmically with cosmic independence, and you see whether they're still your friends. But to do this, you're going to have to be daring enough, have the courage enough. Listen, you're going to have courage enough to say goodbye to the friendships, quote marks, that are going on inside of you. And time thinking is one of them. You watch how you're putting your trust in time, for example, that you're going to understand these ideas. You could understand them right now if you were to banish all your thoughts about time. Look how beautiful it is. You don't have to create your deliverance. If you're going to create your deliverance, if you don't have deliverance right now, but you're going to create it 10 years from now, why don't you create it right now by collapsing time? Why do you put an obstacle to your freedom by saying, I'll get it next week or 5 years from now? Why don't you collapse time thinking, collapse your conditioned self, so that you have it now? Because you see, to use a figure of speech, God, truth, reality, is waiting. I'm using that word waiting, which is a time word, isn't it? But I have to use words. God is waiting right now for you to put away all thoughts about future deliverance so that you can have it now. The place that has been prepared for you is prepared by man time thinking at 7:27 on this Friday night. Right here in this room, right now, if you could see it, spiritually see it, if you could understand it, if you could be receptive to it, if you could cease to think about it, but to go beyond thought about it, to sit back and relax and let the day go and let the years go, then you would understand that your freedom is now. Any struggle to get it involves thought and emotion. Any anxiety over getting it, only desperation to get it, involves time, involves you. Therefore, you push away, that is, your time thinking pushes away from you into the future, which you can only have now. With the collapse of time, eternity is born. You, without being the known you, is therefore instantaneously and permanently in that eternity. which a higher part of you can dwell in and know without effort, without thought, it can be. It's prepared, it's done. You don't create anything. You get yourself out of the way, and what is waiting for you is revealed to you. Do you understand that you're possessed? Huh? Don't you know you're possessed? I can see it just as clear. Can't you see that you're possessed? Possessed with the past? And this past is just living out its false time existence through you tonight and all day today. You are not living your own life at all. Because you're asleep, you have permitted an impostor to come into yourself, inside of you, and tell you what to say, tell you what to do, tell you how to feel, tell you what to think, tell you to get mad, tell you to get scared, tell you to get doubtful about the truths you're hearing here in this room. This impostor has gone inside of you and is living out your life in its false name. And the reason you don't know this is because, among other reasons, you have never challenged his tyranny seriously, rightly, and persistently, because you want out more than you want to take it the easy way. There is nothing difficult about a truck whose brakes come loose at the top of the hill. There's nothing difficult about that truck rolling down the hill, speeding down the hill, crashing into people, destroying lives and property. There's nothing difficult at all. It's very easy. All it has to do is follow a certain law, which under this case is called the law of gravity. There's no intelligence there. Do you know that you do know that truck, when that truck hits a woman who is crossing the street and kills her, that truck didn't know he killed her? When that truck plunges into another automobile going across from it and kills two more people and destroys the car, do you know that truck doesn't know what it did? Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Now that is outward, easily seen human violence. Violence done by the impostor, the devil, the dark forces that have taken over a man or a woman. And this is why the world is what it is. Both the person who votes for the politician and the politician are both trucks. There's no difference. They're both exactly alike, both wanting something from each other. We're here, if we could just begin to suspect, as the soldier did, begin to suspect that there's some different way that Chuck or Joan or Larry or Juan could live in this world. Just suspect it. And once you suspect it, don't miss a meeting. Don't miss working on yourself. Until the suspicion dawns that what you have just heard in the last 5 minutes is true of you and me personally. I have been taken over by a dark impostor? Well, please. Someone who is sneering and hateful, what have they been taken over by? Goodness? Oh, I don't know why you don't see it. Anyone who loves to hate and attack and sneer, you tell me. What has taken them over? Decency? There's no decency in them. If you and I do that, we have been possessed. God exists, and God, truth, reality, is waiting for the opportunity to break through our laziness, our wish to remain as we are because there's no effort involved, waiting to reveal to us this mansion, this kingdom of heaven within and which is also without, which exists right now. Now, I'm going to put it this way for once, and you know what I mean. If you will follow me, I will help you, I will lead you out into the very thickest parts of the battlefield. You're only facing one little small .22 rifle out there on the battlefield now. That's nothing. That's nothing. You're playing it safe by staying way back from the front lines. You're staying way back because you can sense the enemy way out there, and you can see his machine guns and his artillery. And you're playing it safe. My task in this group is to lead both me and you forward right to where the battle is thickest. And you can tell within yourselves whether you were following me up to the front lines by noticing that you're getting and aware that you're getting more frightened by the minute. If you're watching it, you know, if you're being aware of it. Because I am forcing you to see the way things really are in this world, that battlefield, which is fierce and vicious. Nobody cares for you. Nobody cares for you. Nobody but God cares for you. Not your husband, not your wife, the government. The government is your worst enemy. The church is your worst enemy. And we have created them. Therefore, we are our worst enemy. But at the same time that this class leads you forward to the front lines where there's nothing but roaring cannon and chattering machine guns, at the same time that you were led out there, you were not led alone. You have volunteered to follow the teachings of this class up to the front lines. Your very volunteering to go up there means that you will be accompanied by the spiritual colonel who will protect you because he is immune. He knows the secret. He understands. He can't get hurt. He can go anywhere. So he is leading you up there. So at the same time that you get more frightened at what you're doing to yourself, and you think you're doing it against yourself, because you don't understand. You think you're doing it against yourself. You're doing it for yourself. To be against yourself is to be for yourself. To be for yourself is to be against yourself. You understand? Yeah. So at the same time, you also, so the very sensing that you are now in what you call a more dangerous position is also the same awareness that you're accompanied by the truth which, since itself is immune, is protecting you. It is, so to speak, The truth is passing its immunity to the lead, the bullets, the fragment bombs. It is protecting you from them because it is giving you its protection, and you're staying close to it. So as we march forward into the thicker battle, the only danger is merely my misunderstanding. As I understand that there is true eternal immunity from the time world, by being in the eternal world, as I begin to grasp this, then the very consciousness, awareness of both the time world at the start, understanding its lower nature, that I must understand, and I can understand it. As I understand that, then I have the courage to let it go. And as I let the time world go and enter into eternity, that is my immunity, because time cannot enter eternity. Therefore, how can the machine guns and the bombs hurt me when I've gone through the battlefield, gone on the other side of it, and seen and proved for myself that time thinking can't really hurt me, only as I think that there is someone there who can be hurt. When I see that there's nobody there to get hurt, then the bullets go right through me without touching me. The insult goes right through me without touching me. The fear of the future goes right, it has nobody to hit. I'm immune. I am immune by being there and yet not being there. Beautiful, huh? Beautiful. Practical. All right, you're on for questions, comments, please. Yes.
You said the other night that to expect the unexpected. And I noticed my thoughts that you've been describing tonight won't allow the unexpected to happen.
Won't allow the you always try to twist it to make it the expected? Are you saying, yes, this is fear, isn't it? You see, when you were wide awake, listen to this. Let's take this tomorrow, please, out wherever you go. When you're wide awake, when you understand, when you see, when you know yourself, when you know the world, when you know the truth, there's no such thing as the unexpected except on the physical level, and that can always be handled by you. The signal comes up unexpected green, you handle that, don't you? You stop. Or unexpectedly the stove doesn't work right, so you adjust that. That's unexpected. That's no problem. We just take care of it. We repair it in some way. But there's no unexpected to our psychological self because it's not there as a time self to want something else to happen. How can I ever be hurt by anything or anyone when there's no expectation there? There's, instead of an expectation that you're going to treat me nicely, do what I want you to do, instead of that, I understand, among other things, that you are going to have to behave the way you are. Whether you're a sheep or an eagle, whichever you are, you're going to behave the way you are. And I can't put demands on your behavior. And I won't put it on if I understand that there's no need to put demands on your behavior. I've already got it. What have you got to give me by behaving this way or that way according to my demand? I've got it. And you have nothing to give me. You behave the way you behave the way you want to. You behave the way you have to. What has that to do with me? It has nothing to do with me. I am free. Now you behave toward me any old way you want. Therefore, there's no unexpected for me. There's comprehension instead.
Seems that my battlefield is a subtle competitiveness. How does that tie in with time thinking?
Be more concrete in your example. What are you competitive about?
About getting it.
About getting the truth?
Yes,
Are you in competition with anyone else in this room, perhaps?
definitely.
You want to be more spiritual than them?
Yes,
Why?
I don't know.
Yes, you do. Who wants to be more spiritual than someone else in this room? Who? Joe.
Right.
Joe will have to go in order to be spiritual himself. Then you watch and see whether there's any... Look, if there is one God, one truth, which there is, if this is all there is in reality, to whom am I, with whom, of whom am I going to be jealous? See, but we are in time thinking, opposite thinking. I want to be the one who gives the talk. I want to be the one up in front so that you look at me and notice me and tell me what a nice talk it was. Or I want to be able to tell you that I read a total of 10 books last month on self-awareness, and I understand these things. Sense of competition is obviously connected with the time self. You may be smarter than me today, but you just wait till tomorrow when I apply myself. Then I'll be the boss. I'll be the impressive one. I'll be the teacher. Just now I'm the student, but you just wait. Someday I'll be the teacher. Then all will be well. No, it won't.
What you said, I feel is so deep. But I was trying to comprehend it, and I guess it's that I was thinking about it. Something in me was feeling it strongly, but the thinking part couldn't comprehend it.
I'm trying to tell you, I know this is overwhelming. I know that. I understand how much is given to you. I know in the 1 hour that we've been here tonight, you've been given truths that it might otherwise take you 10 years to get. In 1 hour, I know that. I'm telling you to wake up, don't go into shock over it, absorb it, and then come awake. There's no need for you to sit there in a dull stupor. This dull stupor that I see out in front of me all the time is another one of the little tricks that you are playing on yourself in order to remain asleep, because that's what you still love. Now shake it off. Don't fall for it. I gave you an instruction. What do I have to do? Fine you or something to get it through your heads? Yes, Chuck.
Now, can you go into the physical part of this struggle?
Well, start off with the more elementary points on that. Can you observe, all of you, how your internal lostness reflects itself, expresses itself in the physical body? Can you notice the obvious things such as nervousness, such as not being able to make up your mind, even in your own home? You decide to go into that room and get a pair of socks. Then all of a sudden you change your mind, or you forget about the pair of socks and you're going into the opposite direction. Can you see that you wander around in a daze half the time, or 9/10 of the time? See then that the inner confusion simply expresses itself outwardly in your hands, in your eyes, in your tongue, in your mouth. How many are still blabbermouths after all you've been told about it? Internal blabbermouths. You see, you have no control over yourself. Your mouth can't stop blabbing because your mind can't. And your mind can't for a number of reasons. One, maybe you simply haven't been here long enough to begin to work seriously on yourself. Or maybe you've been here for a long time and haven't worked seriously on yourself. Your physical body will change. There are many, many things involved in this, connected with food, for example. Watch how when you don't know what to do with yourself, you're a little nervous, you head for the icebox, huh? Oh, we hit home on that one? It's the first time you came awake all night. Or, equally, you have an aversion to food. And I know some of you wish that you had that, huh?
Your talk Wednesday has got me thinking about the unconscious mind. And one question is, are the contents of the unconscious mind drifting up all the time and we're just not noticing it?
Yes, they break through, especially when we're shocked by something, so we have to notice them. It's as simple as that. They're breaking up all the time, but they're unacceptable to us, so we push them down. One thought is unacceptable to another thought. Try to say, you write that down. One thought is unacceptable to another thought. Now, what is the thought? My image of myself, my self-picture. I am this or that kind of a person, and something comes up. I behave rudely, and I think I behaved rudely. That's unacceptable to my earlier thought that I'm a nice person. Now, because there's contradiction there, I have to lie about my rudeness and say, I wasn't rude, you were rude. I was simply standing up for my rights. So it's repressed. You see how important it is to be honest with ourselves? Now look, you know what the word honest means. We know what the word dishonest means. Simply watch the thoughts, the feelings, the impressions that come up to us all day long without grabbing them. If you grab them, then you'll say I to them. And that is simply one thought going on to the second thought. This means that you're not standing apart from your thoughts, being the watcher of them. The impartial watcher is what we want to be. You can do this in dozens of ways. Watching the behavior of another person, a stranger, maybe in the cafe you're with. Watch the strangers over there talking to themselves, getting loud or whatever. Then turn your attention back and see how you're reacting to them being loud or whatever. Without getting a feeling of superiority. They're loud, but I'm quiet and well-behaved. How many of you are quiet and well-behaved inwardly? Huh? Not so well-behaved, huh? How many of you have bad manners inwardly to yourself? You know who you're treating mean, don't you? Say your own name. That's who you're treating mean. You like to treat yourself mean? Of course you do. It's a great pleasure in berating yourself. You think you're talking about yourself when you're mean to yourself. Phyllis, please. Was it you?
Yes. Just to get back to the cancellation of time. I know it's a very difficult concept, but if theoretically we could just pick ourselves up over everything and as if look down from the center of the cosmos, just look down and look around, I think then we could realize that there is no time and we are watching everything that goes on from that center, from that point,
Yes.
and it's happening simultaneously.
The mind creates time. Thoughts create time. If you don't understand everything we've talked about, please start with that. It is thoughts that create time. You think about time, don't you? You think about months, you think about minutes. You think about yesterday, you think about tomorrow, you think about your past when you were in high school, you think about the future when you'll be working someplace else maybe. So it's the mind that creates time. But time is not eternity. We want to get out of time and get into eternity, which we can, our inner nature can live in eternity while our physical bodies live in time. Isn't that interesting? Margaret.
Yes. Old habits are really very, very hard to break. I've always been very critical, critical of people, and I've been working on that for a long time, and I don't do much of that. But now I notice I am critical of the food prices rising, something on TV. So all I've done is shifted the criticism, but it's still inside, apparently.
Yes, that of course is true. Battlefield habits are hard to break. We're so used to being out there shooting at the enemy and then dodging his shot in return. It gives us a certain strange excitement, gives us something to do. We've got, quote marks, a purpose in life. That is, we've got a victory to win. And if we lose a battle one day, so what? We say, tomorrow I'll win. And you know that when you win a battle, you get depressed. Hmm? And you begin longing for its opposite of defeat. That's right. Defeated people can be very happy. Quote marks around happy. Because their defeat is their victory. Can you figure that one out? Their defeat is their victory. I have been defeated. What's the phrase that you use all the time? I am underprivileged. I am underprivileged. Isn't that marvelous? I'm somebody. You're privileged, I'm underprivileged. And if I'm underprivileged, by the way, now I can hate you and demand your dough. Give me some money. I have a right to your money. I have the right to even steal your money because I'm underprivileged. Yes, Amy.
Is being excited ever right?
Say that again.
Is being excited ever right?
Right? This kind of excitement? No other kind. There is a natural pleasure, if you want to use the word excitement, watching the rain come down. You enjoy the rain. Have you ever noticed that that's something deep in you that enjoys that? That's not wrong. That's your union with the all that's enjoying that, or anything like that. That kind of excitement, and the excitement of the truth we're getting here. Margaret.
It is an excitement, but there's a kind of a delight that occasionally, at least I've experienced, you feel from within yourself. It has nothing to do with anything external, and that's nice.
Yes. That is an eternal delight.
It comes from inside.
Yes, fine. Very good, yes. Dorothy.
Wouldn't a part of beginning to understand the cancellation of time include becoming aware of the staleness of my own responses?
The staleness, yes. Time is staleness.
Yes.
And on its own level, it's all right. Otherwise, you wouldn't get, see how my mind works in associations. You wouldn't get fresh bread out of the oven.
Well, no, I mean psychologically, when you begin to be aware of how just worn out, and when you see a response and you suddenly recognize you've been doing it for 20 years, and it's so dull.
Do you know you're doing it now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is the way Dorothy always asks questions. Try sometime as an experiment, and all of you, not just Dorothy. You try an experiment right here in this class when you ask a question. Some of you have very individual characteristic when asking questions. Dorothy, Chuck, a few others of you. And some of you don't ask any at all. You play it safe. You try to see how the traditional Dorothy or Chuck ask a question. Just watch your whole manner in it. And then, by the very watching of that will make you want to be different, see something different, do something different, instead of same old, well, time to ask a question, I guess. You go like that. Yes, Duffy.
This connects a little bit with what Dorothy was saying and you before. When I am defeated and I fall in the role of my defeat, or when I am pained by something and I enjoy the pain of it. If it's very difficult to catch this and see the role I'm playing. If I see it, I become alive and the role dies.
Yes, yes, yes.
But it's most difficult to catch that because this is part of our I and we're so identified with it and we don't see it as wrongdoing.
That's right. That's very true. And the thought came to me as you were talking, and I was listening to you. You see that pain is in time? Pain is in time. It's a part of the old nature that wants to perpetuate itself. Look how you love your pain. This is a part of you loving time living instead of eternity. We want to begin to love eternity instead of time. And when we do that, then the pain disappears because the bullets of life, the hand grenades of life, can't penetrate anymore. Or rather, they'll go right through us because there's no one there, no resistance there to stop them. No one saying either yes or no to them. Do you know that you are welcoming the bullets? And do you know how you welcome the bullets? Your level of being, a low level of being, welcomes them. Because then when you get hit, you can say, I was wounded. Citizen soldiers love to be wounded, love to go into the court of law and sue someone, loves to complain, either inwardly or outwardly, as to what people are doing against them or have done. Stop loving your wounds. They're keeping you out of the castle. There are only healthy people in the castle, not people with wounds who love to brag about them. You see, society will give you a medal for your wounds. And this is a very complex little thing. But if you get murdered because you're part of some kind of a false social scheme, you get murdered, you'll get a monument put up to you. You'll be rewarded for being wounded. It is no honor to be wounded. It is stupid. Only stupid people get wounded in the war of this world. Intelligent people don't get wounded. What you can do is begin to be intelligent enough to use your wounds to learn how to not get wounded anymore. Think tomorrow, here's a little project for you. You think tomorrow about the horror of having self-pity, right? The mistake of having self-pity. And Chuck, you're on.
Let's talk about the quiet place within.
Want to talk about the quiet place within? Well, first of all, it's necessary to talk about the noisy place within, isn't it?
Yeah.
See, if we just talk about the quiet place within, how many of you here would understand it from experience? How many of you understand from experience the noisy place within? I want to see a forest of hands. So you see, we have to go in the right order, don't we? To be aware of the noise and see what the noise is doing to us. Yes.
That's mostly what religious groups do, talk about a quiet place, so they don't have to look at the noise that are around.
Ah, now that was very good, Alicia. Yes, religious people, philosophers, love to talk about peace and God and quietness. Whenever I see a magazine, it usually shows sun coming down through the clouds, and sun rays and all. I know the first word is going to be love. And I close the magazine fast.
Yeah, but it says you should tell everybody there is a quiet place within.
Pardon?
It says you should tell everybody there is a quiet place within. So
Oh, what does that mean to them? You know what they'll say? They'll say, yes, there is. I've got it. And if you don't believe them, watch how loud they get trying to convince you.
I hope this is not self-pity, but I see that I'm not tired of the world, and yet I have a lot of pain, but I'm not tired. I cannot quite place the pain with the world.
That's right, Rudy. You're not tired of the world. You know why? Not just Rudy, but all of us. Because you still think it can reward you. You still think it can affirm you. You still think it can be nice to you. Look, our heads are that thick. That's how dumb we are. We don't see, we won't see that the world is the enemy of God and the enemy of everything truly right, good for us. We don't see it. We're in love with the world, aren't we? You know what that means, don't you? That means I'm in love with my own self-conceit. I'm in love with my own pictures of myself. Same thing, isn't it? I and the world are one. My present I and the world are one thing. So I'm in love with myself when I love the world. But I'll tell you, boy, can I shift real quick when that world doesn't give me what I want. That world I love, boy, can I switch to the opposite of hatred, huh? When it refuses to give me what I want, what I think I want, what I imagine I want. Isn't it strange that we don't see our contradictions? How we can say, I love you one second and I hate you the next. Then go back to, depending on whether the world is treating my picture right or not. Tell me that I'm a beautiful picture and I'll love you. Start to see that it's a horrible scrawl and tell me that it is and I'll hate you. Alicia.
For example, a woman came over the other day and she was very argumentative. When she left, I was just saying, what a horrible person, that person is, that woman is. Today she came in and she gave me a compliment. And I could see myself just being very happy that this is a real nice lady.
She was nice because she said you were nice, right? Yes, I know. You were on for another 8 minutes. Yes, Joe.
If we begin to see the thoughts behind our self-pity, is that a sign that we're becoming less attached to it?
If you can see the thought and the self-pity, you understand that they're the same thing. That self-pity is composed of thoughts, of ideas, of misconceptions. Do you understand they're the same thing? Yes, most certainly if you can stand apart and see them in operation. And the best way to see them in operation is when one best way is when someone hurts your feelings. Especially someone that you think likes you, behaves toward you in a way that you didn't expect. What a marvelous opportunity. Don't you know, aren't you glad that the world is testing you every day, morning you get up and go through that day, maybe 50 or 60 times that day, the world is giving you a test. And most human beings fail it utterly because they don't want to pass the test. They want to be what they are, or have always been. But we are given a test to see whether I can take that rebuke right, that hurt feeling right, whether I can use it, to actually see what went on in me at the moment it happened. You know, you won't believe how clear your old nature in action can be to you. In time you will. You can actually, someone says something sharp to you, and you feel humiliated because you were caught behaving badly, behaving dumbly. They actually, and you were. I behaved badly, and you caught me. All right. Bad table manners, anything. And you rebuked me for it. First of all, I'm ashamed, right? I'm saying I actually did behave badly, you understand? All right, at the same time you rebuked me for whatever I did, I see the shame coming up. At the same time that's happening, I am watching that shame. At this point, I can begin to understand many things we've talked about. One is my possession by bad spirits, including bad manners. The fact that I can stand outside and see my shame going on, and most lovely of all, I can know that this is a new process. You rebuked me. I was actually wrong in what I did. I see the shame. I see my anger at you for rebuking me and in front of other people. I'm seeing all this. In addition to that, I know that this watching and seeing everything is a new experience. And I can sense, without words, without thinking, that it is a healthy experience. And that is the spiritual experience that I've heard described many times in many ways right in this class and in the books. This is truth beginning, revealing itself to me. And at this point, when I get one of these early experiences, as an extra reward, I get a certain spiritual eagerness to want to go through this again as soon as I can, as much as I can. Because thank God Almighty, I now am beginning to understand a true value from a false one. Before, when I was asleep, hypnotized, I thought that the true value was the anger and even the shame, which I loved, because it was all tied into that is what I took as valuable. And I took it as valuable because this is the only way I knew how to behave. This is the only thing I knew, right? But I listen and I learn. I now sense here is another way to be. I wouldn't believe. All these years I didn't know that. Thank God I got some brains at last. This is spiritual encouragement to go through this. And you watch how you begin to be your own teacher. You can hardly wait to be insulted again, so that you can take it right. You understand. Joe, yes?
You begin to see how you get stuck, and I say the next time it happens, I'm going to be awake and be able to see it. And it happens so fast, and I'm so asleep that I'm already angry.
Right.
And then I realize
Right. The devil crept up, grabbed you because you didn't watch him coming behind the 12th tree. We're changing all that. And I'll say this and then we'll go home. The victory, the spiritual victory that you want, that I want, the spiritual victory that comes from God has already been won. God exists, therefore his victory exists, doesn't it? It exists, it always has existed, and it always will exist. We, time creatures that we are, cannot conceive this eternal victory because we're still time creatures. As we understand that we are that and begin to rise above it through all the applications and wanting to work, even tonight as you go home, find some little way to work, then we begin to understand that the reason we don't have the eternal victory is simply because we're in the time area which can't understand eternal victory. But it is there. As we begin to fade, then God, reality, and this new nature begins to appear. Good night.